Hello, hello, hello to another amazing episode of No Particular Reason. How y'all doing? I got news for you. We're at episode 56. For those that are not following or the new people that are coming to our stream, it's very exciting. The show keeps on going and keeps on giving. So here we are, Friday morning. Excited to be with you, and I'm excited to be with my co-host Kerri Lewis, and I'm Yanko. So what's up, Kerri?
I'm living my best life, Yanko, and I'm so excited. 56, it's so funny. I got to tell the listening audience. So a few weeks back, I said to Nana, I'm like, oh my God, babe, me and Yanko are going to be celebrating our year doing this show, and it's going to be number 56. It's going to be amazing. And he's like, babe, there's only 52 weeks in a year. And I was like, oh, so we already had a. He's like,
I know,
yeah.
right? I actually, yeah, go ahead. I actually had the same thought running through my mind, and I'm like, man, we're too occupied with doing other things, and we didn't realize that we had a whole year go through because we could have done a special episode where we celebrate our 1 year and have you celebrate 1 year with us.
But
So
hey,
yeah.
you know what? As you and I both know, we just kind of show up in joy, and whatever calls to us comes to us. And so I just had to laugh because that's just how I roll. I'm just like, oh yeah. And he just looked at me, with his lovingly, oh, you're so special, my love. Look, and I was like, ah. But yeah,
Well,
so for the listening audience, Yanko and I show up every Friday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to talk about whatever comes to our heart, which is why we called the show for no particular reason. Anything from metaphysics to theology to mindset to the fact that Kerri doesn't know that there's 52 weeks in a year. So here we are on this amazing Friday morning, and I'm ready to get into it.
yeah, that's right. It's so exciting. And again, like you said, we're talking about anything that kind of comes to mind and gets an exciting. And if you want to get excited about those kind of things, join us. Send us a message. We'll bring you in the show. We'll talk about whatever makes you excited, and we'll get excited together. How about that?
So what's going on in your world? You got anything inspired you want to impart on myself and the listening audience today, Yanko?
Nothing really comes to mind. I don't pre-plan those kind of things. I just go with the flow, whatever comes to mind. But I didn't get like a thought or anything that will get me going. But I'm sure in a minute something will come
Well,
through.
I do because I always do.
Go ahead.
So I was journaling yesterday, and I've already known this to be true anyway, because I know that all beliefs are limiting beliefs. That's on a really vast scale that a lot of people might not identify with. But I had this like insight that fear is a habit. It is just an embedded behavior that we can choose to lean into or not at any time. And the more we choose to lean into love over fear, the less that habit has the ability to pull us down the rabbit hole of separation. Because I fundamentally believe that fear within itself is a construct that divides, it keeps us separate from each other and from connection with something greater than ourselves, whether you identify with God or love or even energy and the quantum field. And so as I was going down my like thought process around fear, it's just, if we can examine our fear unbiased, if we can just look at what is coming up for us without judging it or allowing it to take hold of us, right? And we know that it takes hold when we start to feel anxiety, when we start to have tightness in our body, when we start to respond from any place rather than just love, right? Then we can start to allow that fear to have less of an impact until eventually that habit of being afraid no longer exists within your subconscious.
That's right. You kind of override how that works. And this is why I recommend meditation to a lot of people, because meditation allows you to just kind of sit back and watch what's going on and not be as active, but most of it passively, kind of watching or experiencing your fears, your feelings, your thoughts. Well, none of it is yours if you can detach from it, anyways. But that's a whole nother story. And once that happens and it becomes a habit, then more and more you are in the now because you're less in the head. You're more into that observer mode where you're just kind of watching things unfold. So,
Yeah.
yeah, yep.
Yep. Absolutely. But, for the average person, and I would say at least 8 billion people, the idea of meditation feels really obscure and difficult. So let's break that down a little bit for the listening audience. One, there are many different methodologies to meditation, right? There's not one right way to meditate.
Hmm.
Ultimately, meditation is meant to get you out of that attachment to your thoughts, really, like out of that running narrative that's going in your brain. um and then to be able to examine, because you're no longer attached to those thoughts, like the beliefs, like the habits that you are like set in default mode to. It's like driving a car, right? When you learn how to drive a car, everything takes effort. You have to be conscious. But eventually it's like second hat and you don't think twice about it. Well, that's truly our habits and our behaviors and our thought patterns. And you can't break those patterns until you're aware of them. And that to me is what meditation is all about. But there's not one way to get to a meditative state. And so, Yanko, given that you've studied the mind and you're a hypnotist, can you share with the listening audience some ways that people can start to tap into meditation that may not feel so unobtainable or obscure?
Yeah, I wanted to add something to what you were saying earlier. Like an example, if you're in a hall, then all you know it's the hall. But if you get outside the hall, then you can see it and say, oh, that's a hall with me being in the hall. And this is why it's a lot easier to change the perspective and not having to do a lot because it's obvious. When you're outside, it's obvious. You don't have to do any kind of changing, or we're mostly in the do kind of mindset where we're taught that we have to do something to get a result. Like, going to the gym to get the body you want, or eating the food you want to get the result, or whatever. And that's changing. And even in marketing, it's like, oh, you got to do this to get the clients or whatever. So it's more of a remembrance, or kind of realizing that, yeah, that's how it was. It's not, there isn't much more need of a change because it's obvious to you in your mind when you get in that state. But to circle back to what you're saying, there's very many ways to start, and depends on the mind, because everyone has a different mindset, because we're all abroad differently. Everyone comes in like a clean record. And for the people that believe in reincarnation, yeah, they bring some things with them, but most of it gets forgotten and it's buried deeper in the subconscious mind, which still plays a part, but most of it, it's learning it over again. And so when you start getting programmed, your mind, it's going to be different. My mind is not going to function the way Kerri's mind it's going to function, or somebody else's. So therefore, there's different methods and different techniques. And um, you know, recently I was reading a book by Osho that was talking about 102 or 112 methods to meditate. Depends on your mind. And you can start reading in it and get in depth and kind of get an idea what kind of type of mindset you have, or like what is your personality type that suits that perfect practice for you. So there isn't like one shoe fits all kind of way. Um, there is some that are mostly working for some people, but it's kind of like getting your feet wet. You get the idea, you kind of say, ah, this is maybe for me, and it works, and then you get to a point when you're like outgrow the practice and you go like, wow, I'm not getting anywhere from this, so now I need to look into it deeper and see what else I can do. So but couple of practices, journaling, it's really good, and or writing. For people that are really analytical and try to think and be in their head a lot, journaling, not journaling, but like writing. If you can get a, yeah, I love your new journal with the skull in the
I
front.
love my new
See, you
journal.
already have everything going on.
Oh, this is my new favorite baby.
Point of that is that when I journal, I go back and I look at things that I journal a year ago, and then that gives me a different perspective. That gives me that outside of the whole kind of looking back and say, all right, at that time, that was really true for me, but it's no longer true for me because I outgrow that. Now I'm in a different place where I'm realizing that whatever was going on at that point, it's no longer going on. Or if it's going on still, then I can go and see the difference because
See, I never read my journals. I'm be honest,
no,
like never.
oh,
I don't go backwards. I mean, my very first journal, I went backwards to a lot because that journal, one, the beginning, I was so unconscious at the time and I was grasping for something to save me. And so I would write quotes that I would see everywhere, just quotes from random people. And so I would go back to those quotes, and sometimes I do, but most of that journaling, I have a lot of journals, probably a dozen now. The beginning of my journaling was really dark and very, very it was bleak. And so I don't feel a propensity to go back there because I don't feel called to experience that anymore. But even more than that, I feel like in this present moment, I have the opportunity to uncover and release anything that I need to that's coming up for me in this present moment. And it's interesting. My daughter pulled this journal out yesterday and she's like, Mom, I know you don't care if anybody reads your journals, which I don't, right? Like you can read anything. But nobody could ever read your writing in the first place. So you're good. And I'm like, I love my writing. I think I have beautiful writing. I'm like, what? That's
I
that's
love
this
it.
day and that's this day and age education. No, but seriously, to get back to it, guys, for me, meditating can be as simple as being aware of how your foot lands on the ground as you're walking, right? So most people, if you're walking, you're stuck in planning your dinner, planning what you need to do for your job, what you're going to say to the person you had a fight with, right? You're really stuck in your thoughts. But the moment you allow yourself to feel the breeze that goes across your face as you're walking, to feel how your foot lands on the ground, to feel, your heart pumping as you pick up the pace, all of that's meditation because you're in the present moment and you're aware, you're not attached to your thoughts. And I
Yeah,
think
it's
that's
very.
go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's very hard to be at two places at once,
Yeah.
meaning in your head and being present at the same time.
Yep. And for me, when going back to when I was really in a very, very dark mindset, being able to be present again, this is where gratitude played an instrumental role in me starting to shift out of like this real um dense energy. It was feeling the hot cup with the hot coffee in my hand and smelling the aroma of that black coffee and appreciating the flavor as it went down my tongue, all of that, right? And then being grateful for that started to shift my energy, and in shifting my energy, your energy builds momentum and you start to just make different choices. And that's why I tell people all the time, I encourage them, just make a small change. It does not have to be monumental. It can be tiny. It can literally just be watching the air, feeling into the air going in your nostrils and out of your mouth, into your nostrils and out of your nostrils, right? They're different experiences. One is a cooler ear, one's going to be a warmer ear. In that, you are in a state of observation. You're meditating. Does not have to be more than that. And it doesn't have to be this long, long, drawn out practice. It can be just a couple moments. Those couple moments will open you up to more couple of moments, which will then give you a really solid footing to implement a pretty consistent meditative practice, whatever works for you. And that's, I love that you said that, Yanko, that there's so many ways, because that's what I fundamentally uh try to impart on people. There's 8 to 9 billion of us. What's going to work for me is not necessarily going to work for you. My job isn't to tell you what is right or wrong. My job is to hold space and encourage you to figure out what feels right for you so that you can start to incorporate those practices in your daily rhythm and start to free yourself from that overthinking mind.
That's kind of how my journey started into hypnotism too, because I didn't know how to meditate. I knew that I had a lot of stress going on from, working in that dynamic environment I was working in. I was bringing it home, I was ready to pop in any second. Anybody tells me something, I'm just popping. I'm getting it all. And going in and investigating what worked for me was a process that, I tried different things, I read different things, I applied this and that. And then once I start getting in those outer states of mind or being or experiencing consciousness differently than your regular state of operation, then I wanted to know more about it. And I wanted to know if there's a recipe for it, or like, do you just hold your hands, kumbaya, or how do you get into
Kumbaya,
it?
kumbaya. Woo!
Yeah. Yeah. So that led me into hypnotism, because
Yeah.
like hypnosis was the process that gets you in that outer state. But to your point, there isn't very there are very different ways to do it. And when I was getting into saying explaining one of them was that writing, even if you don't journal, like you're just writing like you do, that if you take a paper and you just write whatever comes to mind, your mind has the ability to take it off, because now it doesn't have to remember it because you put it on paper. So that's a one way to go. If you're just like stuck, and you'll see that you're getting repeating things as you're writing them in that piece of paper. All you got to do, it's 5 minutes, paper, write whatever comes up, goes in the garbage, you go with your day. If you feel like it, you can do another one with 5 minutes or whatever next day, and you'll see that there will be less and less repeating thoughts coming in, because you're going
Yeah.
to be writing them.
Well, it's interesting. So there's a couple things. One, I'm going to shout out Julia Cameron and her book, The Artist's Way. I recommend it to a lot of my clients because it is, I believe it's 4 months. So it's 12 weeks of practices, right? That really were designed to help people tap back into their creativity, which I love. I was just talking to a client the other day and I asked them, well, what do you do as a creative outlet? Oh, I'm not creative. Well, let's see. We come from creation and we co-create with creation. So there's not one individual in this entire world that's not creative. But our thinking mind will convince us that we're not. And I totally get it because for many years I said the same thing. Oh, I don't have that ability to be creative. But anyway, this book really highlights a lot of different tools that people incorporate over time into their 4 months of reading this book. But one of them is free writing. And it says free write for 3 days, not 3 days, 3 pages each day. And the reason that can be very beneficial for people is sometimes, and I encourage my clients, even if you write, I have no idea what I'm supposed to write. Kerri's super annoying. She's making me write, and this is super frustrating. This is so stupid. I'm not getting anywhere. But all of a sudden, your subconscious kicks in, and you start writing. And you're not writing with your thinking mind. You're writing from your like spirit, and that's where you start to learn yourself outside of the conditions, patterns, and behaviors that have been, kind of infused into our ability every day, every over years. So that's why I laugh all the time. Writing is a really profound practice. And if you don't want to write, the great thing about these devices now is it has an auto record. So I encourage clients, okay, you don't want to sit down and write, just start spitting out thoughts into your recorder, because it just to mind dump can help get it out of here and onto there, so you don't have to ruminate over it.
I love it because I see that with my clients when I work with them, because they have expectations of how things will go. And if I do a couple exercises and I have them, tell me what's coming up in their mind or whatever, because we haven't started yet, then boom, the mind, it's open. Like there's things coming out, and it keeps on going. But the minute I say, well, you ready to start? And it's like, you're putting the blocks down. It's like, no.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
this I know works. This I had experience with, but depends on how you look at it. So yeah,
Yeah.
great you
Well,
brought it up.
with anything that you attempt, if you don't think it's going to work, it's not going to work. And that's where this is where I always encourage people, suspend what you think you know. Even for myself, I go into different classes, or, under, like, I'll examine teachers, and I really try to put my idea that I already know what they're going to teach me to the side, because the minute I do that, I've already decided that there's nothing in this experience that I'm going to
Yep,
take away from. And I really limit myself that way. And
that's right.
that holds true for every individual, right? If you tell yourself that you can't, whatever that story is, you're telling your brain to not let you do it, and then you just
Yep,
can't do it. And that's why
you're
when
pulling
people
the
like, oh,
blinds on. Yep, that's
oh,
it.
I
It's
can't
like
quit.
here's my limit. Whoop,
Yeah,
that's it. I'm done.
yeah, it's true. So it's and again, language is so powerful. Language is like casting spells. I always encourage my clients to listen to how they talk to themselves. I should, I need, I can't, I must. All of these things are like, there, it comes from a place of judgment or an expectation. Anytime there's expectation or judgment, you're boxing yourself in. And instead, I will come at this from a place of curiosity and willingness to be open to what happened. And when you do that, profound insights, experiences, and life altering things happen for you.
Yeah, not only with that, with anything. Anything.
Everything.
Say you're taking the same route every day. You're taking the same route and you think you know it, and you're not paying attention. But if you go through the same route every day as you're going for a very first time, and you want to know what's around, you're curious, you look at the signs, you look at the buildings, the people that are going around, you're gonna notice wonderful things. Everything, it's gonna be different. It's gonna
Yeah,
be a different experience every time. Even so, it's the same thing.
I know. And that goes back to one of my clients who said to me, "Hey, my boyfriend thinks I'm losing my memory because we drove down this same street, and I evidently drive down it all the time." And I was like, "Oh, this is a new street." And I was like, "No, you're not losing your mind. You just were never present while driving down that
That's right.
street."
Yep.
And the minute you're present, again, I could go down the same street every single day for the rest of my life and witness something new every single day for the rest of my life. because everything's constantly changing. There's seasons that happen. The unfolding of clouds. Paint is coming off the houses. And so it's just really, again, opening up your mind to this curiosity. And that's really where I believe that childlike wonder comes into play, not assuming that you know.
Yeah, but that brings me to that idea which you started off, the fear. Because a lot of people use the fear to like keep themselves in, oh, I don't want to feel this or I don't want to experience this. Oh, this is scary. So sometimes I go in and say, how do you feel about that? Is it scary? And they go like, why are you messing with me?
Yeah.
you know, but that's usually how it is. Because if you close your heart to something because you don't want to be hurt, you suppress that love that exists in that feeling, then yeah, next thing it's going to be fear, because fear of whatever unknown, being hurt or whatever, you know and yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess I really can only speak for me, but I've worked with many, 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 many people now since I've been a coach, which is going on, well, I thought 5, but it's 4 years. Actually, it's past 4 years. And I mean, I've been a coach since I was 17, because anybody who's a leader is in essence a coach. But it's fear of rejection. It's fear of being made fun of. It's fear of not being in connection. And you said you listened to the show yesterday. Me and Nana had our show, and we had his brother on as a guest, and they're from Ghana. And something that strikes me is, well, Nana and his family's ability to continuously try new things and really fully express themselves without that fear of rejection. And it's because of community. It's because of how they grew up, this unconditional love that even if, Nana dresses up in cosplay, and even if his younger brother is a musician, and even if his older brother believes that education is fundamental in achieving success, there's this unconditional love and not this fear that because an individual within that community like something different, that they'll be rejected. And that's really, it's so profound. And that's why I believe that it's so paramount to find somebody, even if it's one person, who can see you for yourself without judging you, without asking you to be anything other than who you are in this moment, and loving you in that space. And that's where you break free from some of that fear of being rejected.
Well, there's going to be somebody always that's going to judge you.
Of
Like, you can
course.
make everybody happy 100%.
Never.
And it's not your job to fit in to some kind of a form or mold to be liked by everybody. That's totally the wrong way to go, first of all. And I'm glad you brought it up, because if you try to fit in a form to please everybody, then you're suppressing your authentic self. Then you're
Yep.
not going to be resonating with whoever you're resonating with,
Yep.
you know? So get it out of your head, like that you're going to be liked by everybody. Even speakers, writers, movies nowadays. The critics go in and they bash the movie, but then the audience love the movie. So there's going to be somebody that's going to always criticize you about what you're doing, but that shouldn't be preventing you of being your authentic self and being yourself.
But
Um,
so go ahead,
yeah, go
finish
ahead.
your thought. So there's two things to that I really want the listening audience to understand, right? Nana and I both caught hate this week in our messages. Like, people had very strong reactions to some of the stuff that we posted on our social media. And I said to Nana, I mean, the more we show up as our individual self, the more it's going to rub against other individuals, and that's okay. Like, I can choose to love that individual and still choose to do what feels really right for me. But also to what you're saying, Yanko, and this is so important. How do you ever know who can love you and who's willing to totally just be weird and spontaneously unique with you if you don't show up as your authentic self. It's true, you're gonna be rejected. I last week I caught hate. Like, people are going to have a strong opinion around what it is I talk about, how I view the world, and that's okay. But I also, because I'm so fully expressed, I attract the people who vibe with that too. And I would rather be true to myself and know that the people in my space truly can, like, get me and love me for my own weirdness, rather than put on a mask and not really know who around me really supports and appreciates me for my unique, authentic, quirky self, which I believe, quirky is a gift we give to the world. There's nothing wrong with being uniquely you.
That's right. I was just gonna say that I see that more and more, especially in Facebook. I've had a couple of friends that go in and say, "I don't care if you don't like me, defriend me. Like I'm not gonna, you know, I won't care. I'd rather have 10 friends or followers or whoever it's resonating with what I do than having 200 that are there to tell me how wrong I am, to bring me down, instead of supporting me and help me, build myself up and take that journey with me, or go on a walk with me. I support them, they support me, it's fun, we're going, things are happening, instead of like, nope, you're not going up, we're just gonna take you down. So that's
Yeah.
gonna happen. That's in
You know,
in
the more
in
confident you are in showing up fully expressed, and again, here's the thing, guys, this is what I don't even know who I am. And that sounds, what do you mean you don't?
no,
I don't know.
nobody knows.
I don't know how I'm gonna respond a minute from now to our conversation. I don't know what's gonna unfold in the next day, 2 days, 3 days, right? I really don't. And so, it's just allowing myself to just be without judging myself for who I am. That's the gift I give myself, and I give it to the world as well. Because I also hold space for anybody else without this expectation that they be anything but how they're showing up right now.
Yeah, because you don't have the fear, because the fear is driving that. Because if your mind it's made up about something, you're going to expect it a certain way, and you're going to try to control it because you want to know what the outcome it's going to be, and if it's not what you expect it to be, then you're going to be in that fear of like, oh, it didn't turn out the way I want it to be. Nobody cares. You can't predict the future. You don't know how things are going to turn out. You don't know if you're going to wake up tomorrow, and that's another thing. um, but not only us talking about it. If you're on the self-improvement road or like bettering yourself, there's people that talk about it too, in media, videographers and other people, or writers. Not everyone's going to write your book, read your books and love them. This is why you're different. Not everyone's going to like your movies that you're making, or poetry or whatever, but you're going to have certain amount of people that's going to resonate with that and just going to love it,
Yeah,
because that's why you're here, because to express your unique self.
100%. I totally agree.
Yeah. But in the topic of what you're saying, if I want to take it a level deeper, nobody knows who they are. They think they are somebody, but they're not.
Well, yeah. I mean, I I I get what you're saying, that it's just, again, we're just programs. We're running programs. And for me, and I can only speak for myself, but I always ask myself, am I showing up in love? And if I'm not, I know that I'm being driven by a program. Like, I'm being driven by a belief that I created at some point in my life, and that belief is causing me to feel like I need to protect myself. And that's ultimately where I encourage people to get curious, is where is it that you feel unsafe? Like, what feels unsafe within you? And how do you nurture that space within yourself? Whether it's feeling unsafe within a different community, right? Like I step into a party that is filled with people from Ghana. I'm the only white person there. I could feel disconnected because I look different, right? That is a belief that was embedded in my psyche when I was young. So okay, Kerri, where is it you're feeling unsafe? And how do you honor that and let it go so that you can experience the love that's being offered to you in this moment when you're not driven by that program, that belief? And that's why I truly believe, going back to meditation real quick, you don't have to just sit in a chair and do what but Yanko talked about is, all these different hand poses and stuff. Your ability to question your response in any given moment is a gift that you give yourself because you're learning what drives you. And then in learning that, you get to make a different choice.
Yeah, and there's techniques about it too. Like you can question your own self and
Yeah.
say something like, "Who wants to know?" Like if you get curious about it, who wants to know, or who's feeling hurt right now, or who's thinking that that's how it's supposed to come out. And then the more you look for that thing that you think you are, the more it disappears to the point where you realize that there's no I, there's no me.
Well, so it's so interesting because this is the other thing. I keep coming back to this with clients. You're not going to think your way into healing. That's why at some point talk therapy stops being beneficial. Do I think it serves a purpose? Absolutely. Did Valerie Fulginetti support me in my growth and development to get to where I am today? Unequivocally, nothing but love for her. However, the reality is what you just said is the best practice in that you ask the question and you just let it go because your spirit, like your intuition, whatever that guidance is, however you determine it, will provide the answer for you. You don't have to think yourself
That's
into
right.
the answer. And
Hmm.
that's where I think we go down this rabbit hole and make ourselves sicker and sicker because we feed our ego by, oh, this is coming up. Well, I got to figure out this, and this is what happened. Then this is what I went through, and then I went through this. And all we're doing is perpetuating
Right.
that fear instead of saying, oh, I wonder what's coming up for me. And you let it go. And then at some point, you're just walking along, doing your thing. And all of a sudden, bam, you're like, oh, I was 2 years old and I got lost in the supermarket and my mom is gone and I was afraid and I thought I got abandoned and boom. And then you just let it go. And it has no hold over you ever again.
Right. You just re-experience it. But to
Yep.
your point, if the mind is here where your eyes are, then the deeper mind or the spirit, it's right here. So the the mind cannot see above the mind, and it can only see down, like from down. So it's always gonna have that limit that's gonna limit you. But then if you skip it and it goes a step further, it's like getting out of the hole and getting that perspective. And you say, "Oh, I'm in the hole. I see what's
Yep.
going on."
Oh, wait, I think we got. Oh, hello, Miss Beautiful Sherry. Oh, guys, I love this woman. Speaking of, you're definitely on my heart, Sherry, because I have two beautiful people, Karen and Joan, that I need to put you in touch with. I just talked to them 2 days ago, and I'm like, oh, they're Sherry people. Anyway, um, Sherry shows up as love and she highlights amazing women showing up as love in the world. So I really appreciate you dropping in and giving us love, beautiful. But yeah, anyway, when you said the mind when you see here goes down, all I could think of, I got the joy, 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 joy down in my heart. Oh, down in my heart. Oh, down in my heart. But you know why that comes up for me is I was reading scripture earlier from this book, which I have mixed reviews about, guys, because I love the Tao, which is really steeped in feminine energy. I've read the Bible. I love parts of it, but there's a lot of masculine energy there. And in this book, there are some fear-based narratives. And I ask myself, why is that coming up for me? So I love that book. But anyway, the whole point is it talks about how awareness, like this part, our thinking mind is going to try to control us, right? But our heart can bypass it and be like, but you don't really carry any weight anymore. And so, in context to what it was saying, is just say I have an experience and I make up a story about my mother, and she is, in my mind, she is my adversary because of this experience, right? My heart, once I really flushed out and forgiven, it's still a memory in my mind. It's still there. Like, I had the experience, it didn't go away. However, my heart is like, but it was never true, baby, and there's so much love there. So you continuously override that thinking mind with your heart and your higher self to have an experience of peace. And I fundamentally believe that's how you know you're connected with source, guys. You don't have to have all these crazy insights or all of this knowledge that Yanko has about, I don't know, astro projection and
That
all the
that's
stuff he
that's
said.
untrue. No,
What?
I'm no special than anybody else.
But that's the thing, is all you have to do is know that you're in peace. That's it.
Yep.
Or like, if you truly feel peaceful, like, and what I mean is, like, right now I can honestly say, like, my spine is tingling, like, there's no anxiety going on. It's just like, ugh, then I know I'm tapped in and I don't need to do anything other than just appreciate that experience.
And Sherry was in a show with us before, going back at the beginning of our journey with the podcast. And we'll love to have you come back one day and
Yeah.
vibe with us and share some wisdom.
It's been a year. Plus, I miss those red lips. See, Sherry and I, we vibe because she's a red lip girl too. And I love me a good red lip when I put on makeup, which I'm going to be doing twice in the next week because I'm going to two galas. One to support Fierce Over 40. And all those proceeds go to Dove, which is Domestic Violence Ended. So if anybody's interested, shout out to Lindsay Height, Show You Spark Studio for that. And then I was gifted an offer to go to a gala supporting the LGBT plus community in Worcester. And really, just anytime I get to dress in black and wear a good red lip is a good day for me.
That'll be interesting.
Definitely.
I love it. I love it. Yeah.
And tonight I get to go celebrate with my daughter. Her best friends are in the play Annie, which, let me just tell the listening audience. So what saved my life was reading. Hands down reading. And Anne of Green Gables, so Anne, who is a precocious, imaginative girl who went through a lot of suffering, a lot of angst in her formative years, used her imagination to get her through that and still show up as this spunky, inspired, joyful person. Annie, with Daddy Warbucks and all that, was an orphan, again, who went through all this trial and tribulation, and yet her spirit was unshakable. And so these two Anne girls have played pivotal roles in my life in helping me stay precocious and curious and read. And so to be able to go tonight with my daughter to see her friends enact this story that has just played such a pivotal role in my own upbringing, I'm just like, even as I talk about it, I'm like, let's go. It's gonna be a party.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
That's very exciting. I love it. Um, I had a thought that I wanted to share, you know, because you're talking about energies and everything, and it's the feminine and the masculine and both energies. Everyone have them. In finding the balance, it's the key in between one and the other. because they play out just like radio station plays its tunes. They come around, they're all around us, and we're kind of like the antennas that tune into different, modes and energies and get that going.
Yeah, and the thing is there's not one good and one bad. Something I hear a lot in listen, women, I love you. I love you so, so much. But I hear a lot of this reclaim the feminine power. And I'm like, why don't we just embrace everybody and heal? Because my masculine energy helped establish me and allow me to be productive and to allow me to be decisive in making choices that helped move me along my journey to learn my feminine. And the reality is yes, my feminine energy is nurturing, it's loving, it comes from compassion. But if I'm just sitting here like in this space of love, I'm really not taking action. I don't know that I'm sitting here and, inspired to bring together people in a community of love and make a different choice rather than come from fear. Or so it really is for me the healing that I am watching unfold, that I would encourage people to continue to lean into, is not to feel like one energy is better than another. It's just to recognize that they exist within us for a reason, and that we nurture both of them and we honor both of them when we're inspired to, call upon whatever's coming up in us at that given moment.
Yeah, there is no good or bad, black and white. There is no. It's it's something that we use to describe things, or we put or give meaning to. Um, but if you look at the whole universe, there's creation and destruction. There is, stars going supernovas, turning into black holes, and all that. And in some of the Eastern teachings, they even say that, the feminine energy is the creator that brings life in, the womb of the woman and all that. And then Shiva, the destroyer, comes in, and it's kind of like that play of yin yang, but in a different way. So again, balance.
Yeah. Or acceptance. It's so interesting for me. Do I ever achieve perfect balance? Maybe. I really don't know, but I know that um I'm okay. I'm okay with whatever comes up in any given moment, and that is for me ultimate acceptance. It really is. That's ultimate self-love. I think we're conditioned, and it's so embedded in the human psyche to judge ourselves more than anybody else. I don't even care if you judge me, because if you're judging me, then I fundamentally know you're judging yourself and you're condemning yourself to hell. It's like what Rumi says, we have the key to unlock our prison. It's just that most people don't turn the lock because they're not willing to stop judging themselves. They're not willing to forgive themselves. And, I think where I struggle and a lot of theology's texts, this book included, which is a wonderful book and I love it, but is we talk about sin a lot. Well, sin derives from the Greek word eros or something, which is error. And that means it's not that you're a bad person, which I think most people buy into this context that there's something wrong with them, they did something wrong, but that the error is we separated from love, guys. That's it. Simple as that. And if you can come back to love, you're back in alignment, you're back in your true oneness, you're not only in spirit, but you're empowered. You're in power. You hold the power. There's no force needed. You're it's just it is what it is. It's indescribable.
Yep. Yep. And I was gonna bring something in, and it just escaped me. Oh yeah, about the arrows. It's like Neville Goddard says it, the sin it's missing the mark. You missed the mark. That's pretty
Wait,
much
the
it.
sin is missing. Yeah,
The sin
exactly.
it's missing the mark.
Mhm.
You didn't sin. You just kind of like missing the exit. You kind of miss your opportunity or the exit or whatever. It's not like, I mean, you're not gonna be hard on yourself if you miss the exit.
But I mean, it kind
You'll
of
come
goes.
back to it.
It's so funny because it comes back full circle to the beginning of the conversation around fear. When we observe ourselves in fear, we realize that we've missed the mark. We've made an error because if we come from love, then we've separated ourselves from love in that fear. The fear is the separation. And so, how do you get back to love? And for anybody who's like, what are you talking about? Right? Because if you're deeply entrenched in an unconscious mind, like if you're like stuck in that overthinking and this feels really, really hard, ask yourselves this: do you wake up and feel joyful? Do you feel connected with individuals? Do you feel happy to take on the day? Right? Simple questions anybody, no matter what state of consciousness you're in, can ask. And if the question, I mean, if the answer is no, then know that you've just separated from love. And that's okay. Don't judge yourself. Just ask yourself, how do I come back to feeling good? And because you asked, so shall you receive. This is the beauty of creation. And that is where the books speak. Ask and you shall receive. And that's why, going back to, if you have a preconceived notion about how things are going to unfold, you've just closed yourself off to the answer. But if you just say, hey, how do I come back to more joy? How do I come back to more love? How do I come back to more connection? How do I feel better about my day? Then you will get an answer, and then you can take an action. And the other thing that I work a lot with people on is people know what they need to do. They're just not willing to do it because that action shakes the very core of what they've built, their house of cards. And that's where Yanko and myself and all of these amazing people in this work are here to support you as you start to shake that house of cards until it all falls down and you realize you never needed it in the first place.
Right. Like giving your hand to like grab into my hand. It's gonna be wonderful. And you're like, I don't know. Let's go. Let's see how it goes.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why they say you just need a mustard seed worth of faith. Like it's the smallest grain of faith that the day that I picked up my coffee, that I felt the heat, that I like appreciated the warmth of the coffee, that was my mustard seed ounce of faith that turned into I don't know, a sesame seed that turned into, and then it just built and built and built and built and built until it became unshakable. And there is nothing that will ever happen to me that will make me not unequivocally be connected to source again, because it's just it's grown into a knowing rather than kind of trepidation.
Remembering. Yeah,
Yeah.
remembering. I keep thinking of water, like running water. It's kind of amazing to see how water steps in through like even tight places because water doesn't resist anything.
Yeah.
Water just flows. So, in a way, if you stop resisting anything because you're part of the water or part of the creation, you're just gonna flow. So there's nothing that was gonna unfold the way it shouldn't unfold. Everything is just gonna unfold the way it's supposed to unfold. So
100%. I
yeah,
totally agree. Just like this conversation, that's why we have a show called For No Particular Reason, because we never know how it's going to unfold. And yet, in that willingness to just see where it goes, we open up this space for flow.
yeah, and I see that we keep harping in the same things over and over, and we keep bringing them in different episodes, but changing the angles for it. So it might sound like something repetitive that we do, but in the hopes of giving you a different perspective. That's why we do it.
Always. Well, think about this. A great leader reinforces the same information over and over year after year, not because they want to, but because that's how it continues to grow within the psyche of individuals.
Yep. Yep.
Well, this is
Wow.
so fun. You know, year celebratory, not really episode.
Not
We
really,
got any
really, but not
parting
really.
words for our
Let's do,
listening
yeah,
audience?
let's do an episode where we like actually celebrate. Maybe we dress up or something. I don't know. I'm looking for ideas.
I mean,
Some fun episode.
I don't know. What would
How
we
about this? We'll announce that we do a celebrating episode, and we'll invite anybody that wants to join us, and we can bring him in the show to vibe with us. How about that? We not only share ourselves, but we also allow you to come in the show and vibe with us. Not
well, I
and
mean,
if you want
everybody's
to.
always welcome. But yeah. My thing, I would say, I don't know. We'll figure it out. I have no
Yeah,
doubt.
I'm sure. I'm sure of it. So, as we come to the hour, do you have any parting wisdom? I'm sure you do. Uh,
Oh, I just feel so good. I just want to bottle up my energy and send it out into the universe and just extend love. But, you know, just remain curious, guys. Just even if anything you said, if you have resistance, if you're like, these people are cuckoo banana pants, right? There's like this idea that they have no idea what they're talking about. They are out of their mind cuckoo. Understand, be curious about that. Ask yourself that. If you stay in curiosity is what will open you up to new experiences and more profound love. And at the end of the day, I think I can speak for Yanko and myself in that. I hope for you all to experience the love that I know to be true within myself and within creation itself.
and I'll let you be wherever you are. Um, in my eyes, you're all perfect, whole, and complete. And Kerri laughs at that every time. So,
Well, because I know that they're perfect, whole, and complete, but if they don't know that, they're sitting in suffering. And I think for me, because I lived in suffering for endless amounts of what seemed like decades, I I feel compelled to be the light that can help other people pull themselves out of that suffering.
that's right.
Yeah.
Well
Until
said.
next time.
Now, until next time, you guys, thanks for sticking around, and we'll see you next Friday. Same time, same place.